I gave Dominik Mysterio all of the WWE titles and simulated an entire year in Universe mode. So let's see how this goes. We start off at the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, where Dominik Mysterio has to defend the WWE Championship against Big E Langston. And unfortunately for Dominik, he loses the WWE Championship to Big E after a big ending. He's down a title, but the Money in the Bank match happens later in the night, and John Cena is able to climb up to the ladder and grab the briefcase as everybody else is just standing around him doing nothing. So John Cena is now Mr. Money in the Bank once again. It's NXT In Your House, and Dominik Mysterio has to defend the NXT Championship in a triple threat against Gunther and against Tommaso Ciampa. And Tommaso Ciampa hits the fairy tale ending on Gunther to put him away, and Dominik loses without getting pinned. Leading up to WrestleMania Backlash, John Cena cashes in the Money in the Bank briefcase he won onto Dominik Mysterio, and Dominik Mysterio has to defend the Universal Championship just out of nowhere. And John Cena is able to capitalize on this opportunity and win the Universal Championship from Dominik Mysterio. WrestleMania Backlash, Dominik gets his rematch against John Cena after complaining that he wasn't ready. So Dominik is not going to get his match fully 100%, and he loses to John Cena in 3 minutes. So Dominik's now complaining that he got cheated again, and John Cena reigns supreme. So now we go to the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, where Dominik Mysterio must defend the United States Championship against Apollo Crews. He hits a frog splash to finish off Apollo, and for the first time, he's actually retained a championship rather than lost one. Simming to SummerSlam, Dominik Mysterio is now put in a position where he has to defend his U.S. Championship again, this time against Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy wins the U.S. title from him due to a twist of fate. I guess it was a twist of fate because now Dominik has lost his U.S. title. So after that loss, Dominik Mysterio now has to defend his other NXT Championship, the North American title, against Swerve Strickland. And Dominik unfortunately loses the championship after Swerve hits a electric chair package power bomb. All right, that's cool. Time for payback, and Dominik Mysterio is once again getting a shot at the U.S. title against Jeff Hardy, but this time he's bringing help. He's got the entire Judgment Day at ringside, and thanks to the Judgment Day, Jeff Hardy loses to Dominik Mysterio, and Dominik Mysterio gets back the title that he lost. We move on to the Clash of Champions pay-per-view, and Dominik's not booked. He's not booked. He was able to weasel his way out of defending one of his championships, so Dominik survives another month, this time by not wrestling whatsoever. It's TakeOver 31, and Dominik Mysterio gets his rematch against Swerve Strickland, but this time he brings the Judgment Day with him once again, and thanks to the Judgment Day, Dominik Mysterio is able to reclaim the North American Championship. So it looks like the Judgment Day is providing a huge boost to Dominik Mysterio. It's time for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and Dominik Mysterio is now having to defend his U.S. title for the last time in the rubber match against Jeff Hardy. And unlike in previous matches, nobody's going to be able to come for him because it's inside the Hell in a Cell. The two get outside of the cell, and Dominik got thrown off the cell and somehow miraculously gets up, climbs up back on top of the cell to get to Jeff Hardy, and proceeding to just get slammed through the cell by Jeff. And Jeff Hardy reclaims the U.S. title, and unfortunately for Dominik, he suffered some injuries. According to the doctors, Dominik Mysterio suffered multiple injuries, including 3 broken ribs and a broken nose due to the 2 falls that he sustained in the match, which is precisely why he could not compete at the Survivor Series. Due to the injuries he sustained, he was deemed not able to compete at the pay-per-view, and he was not booked whatsoever. As we get to the month of December in the TLC pay-per-view, Dominik is forced to either relinquish or defend the Intercontinental Championship. Now, of course, Dominik Mysterio does not want to lose his championship, so he decided to defend the title, which was a terrible idea because he has to go against Shinsuke Nakamura. And Nakamura proceeds just to Kinshasa him straight in the face, and now he is the Intercontinental Champion. Dominik is taken off on a stretcher, probably off screen, and we don't see him for a while. So we get to the Royal Rumble, and Dominik shocks everyone by coming in at the number 30 spot. Despite still being somewhat injured, he is able to come into the Royal Rumble, and then he gets thrown out like nothing. He still loses the match and doesn't even make it to the final entrance. He comes in and gets thrown out. While Dom is healed up, he's still injured somewhat. So because that he's like 75% of the way of able to go, he is defending the North American Championship in a no disqualification match against Dexter Lumis. And actually, he wins the match. He retains the championship somehow, despite being at 80%. He retains his title. And I guess that says more about Dexter Lumis than anything else. So the Elimination Chamber occurs, and he's not booked either. I guess he got so depressed that he's lost every single championship that he can't even wrestle anymore. We hit the Fastlane pay-per-view where Shinsuke Nakamura retains his Intercontinental Championship against Drew Gulak, I think. Yeah, I think it was Drew Gulak. But regardless, Dominik Mysterio makes his return. He's all healed up and ambushes Nakamura with a steel chair after the match. He says he wants his rematch against Nakamura because he felt like it was unfair. And Nakamura accepts. So at WrestleMania, it is Dominik Mysterio versus Shinsuke Nakamura. We're in the home stretch. NXT Stand and Deliver. Dominik Mysterio is defending the North American Championship against Cameron Grimes. And Cameron Grimes caves in Dominik Mysterio to win the North American Championship from Dom. The main event is supposed to be NXT Champion Tommaso Ciampa against Timothy Thatcher. And before Timothy Thatcher comes out, Timothy Thatcher gets ambushed by Damian Priest of the Judgment Day, and Damian Priest takes him out. So what happens next is that Dominik weasels his way into the match and has now become the opponent for Tommaso Ciampa. So now it's Tommaso Ciampa versus Dominik Mysterio for the NXT Championship. Tommaso Ciampa was caught completely by surprise at this development, and Dominik is able to take advantage of that because he's able to reclaim the NXT Championship, the title that he never lost, and is reclaimed that championship thanks to the Judgment Day, of course. And now we're at WrestleMania, where Dominik Mysterio, with the entire Judgment Day in his corner, will be trying to reclaim the title that he unfairly, and at least in his words, lost at TLC to Shinsuke Nakamura. And Shinsuke Nakamura is able to shut up Dominik Mysterio, Kinshasa him straight in the face, and retain the Intercontinental Championship. And Dominik Mysterio is left embarrassed and sad. But hey, he's still got one championship left, and we'll get to that in a second. So at the end of the run, Dominik Mysterio was able to retain only one of his championships, the NXT Championship. And even that is mired in controversy because of how Dominik was able to get his way into the match. But, hey, he still has one title. That's just about it, guys. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.